everyone, and welcome to Soapy. I'm Rebecca Budig.
And I'm Greg Rikaart, and on today's show, we have James Reynolds, the legendary, iconic, groundbreaking actor who, of course, plays Mr. Abraham Carver on Days of Our Lives.
Now, see, that's the guy I know because I grew up watching Days, so I know Abe Carver, and I just knew him as the cop. I mean, of course, he's
come a long way.
I know, he's like the commissioner or something now. So I'm super excited to talk to him. He seems like a really interesting guy. Do you get to work with him?
Not enough, but on occasion I do, because I'm what you would call a floater. I go from one storyline to the other.
Oh, you want that title as well, huh?
Yes. So yeah, I get to work with him and Jack A sometimes, but again, not enough. And we're going to talk to him about his legendary career and much more when we get back.
James Reynolds has played the role of Abe Carver on Days of Our Lives since 1981. And he also won a Daytime Emmy for that role in 2018. And from 1990 to 1991, he played Henry Marshall on NBC's Generations.
The Ice Cream King.
The Ice Cream King?
I was the Ice Cream King of Chicago.
Is that true?
Well, Henry was.
Welcome to our show.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am so excited that you're here. I watched Days growing up, and I just feel like you're an icon. You've been at this role for, is it the longest male actor on Days?
It is.
I am now, which I only found out a couple weeks ago. I had no idea. I hadn't paid attention to all the other male actors.
I'm every day I'm clocking where I am on that list.
You're not too far. You're getting closer.
That's so funny. You say you're not paying attention. I think I read somewhere where you weren't really paying attention to daytime when you got offered the role.
Oh, I had no idea. I did know MacDonald Carey's voice, you know, and so I knew that. But that's all I knew of Days of Our Lives. Now, I had watched soaps. I was kind of sick as a kid, so I was home a lot. So I had watched soaps, and I was kind of a strange kid. And I went through a period of time where I decided I was going to log every commercial on television, and just to have something to do. You know, I'm a great reader, but sometimes you want to just.
Well, TV was like TV was TV.
Oh, it was TV. You know, 3 channels.
Yeah.
It was easy. So I had a chart. I did that. So I watched those soaps in between the commercials. I was probably the only person watching the commercials. Yes, and in between. So I did see soaps, you know, they're sadly no longer with us, and but I didn't follow any soaps.
Would you go from channel to channel, and was there a rhythm to which commercials were airing on which network?
There were, yeah, and I learned that the best way to do it, of course, was just to watch one channel.
Right.
So this week I'd watch this one. Next time I got sick, I'd watch another one, and so I got an idea of where they were and what they were doing. It profited nobody.
Yeah, but you said you wrote things down. Maybe that was that the reporter in you, because you were a reporter, a journalist.
I became a reporter. Yes,
you did, right?
Yeah.
You joined the Marine Corps, I guess,
when
you were
Marine
young.
Corps,
You were born in Kansas.
Young. I was born in Oskaloosa, Kansas.
That's right.
Which is in northeastern Kansas, for those who don't know, near Lawrence University. Big Jayhawk fan, Rock Chalk, and huge Jayhawk fan. And so Oskaloosa is a very small. When I was there, about 800 people.
Wow.
I think it's grown to near 1,000 now. And so I went to school there. In fact, I was just exchanging messages with one of my classmates who has been the judge in Oskaloosa for years. He retired a year ago as the longest serving judge in Kansas.
Wow.
In Kansas, which is
and you've stayed
very
in touch all these years.
Yes. Well, you know, it's only 800 people.
Well, I guess that's right. I guess that's right, but I'm not in touch with a lot of kids from school. So.
Is he then a member of the Kansas Historical Society, as are you?
No, he's not. Yeah,
he
he's
should be.
Probably a subject of the Kansas Historical. Yes, I've been on the board of directors.
Right?
Of that. They're having a big celebration this weekend. Is it this weekend? Next weekend that I won't be at, which is unfortunate. But celebrate additions to the Kansas State Historical Society, which is one of the best actually in the country. If you look at documentaries, you're always going to see Kansas State Historical Society there. So yes, it's been my pleasure. Our schedule doesn't allow me to be there very often.
Right.
So until the era of video, and we could do video meetings. I wasn't at as many meetings that I would have liked to have been.
Sure.
But it always seems to come around. This is Dave's 60 years old, and the meeting always seems to come around this time, which is the same time the big meeting this year is. So I don't think I'll be there.
Aw.
That's it. I know.
Thank God for Zoom.
Who knows? But I've been to some, and they've been very interesting. It's fascinating. Always loved history. Since I was just a kid reading all the time, I read a lot of history. So this is great, being part of that organization.
Is that what drew you to study? You studied law and journalism?
Well, I didn't quite make it to law.
You didn't?
I didn't quite make it to
You got
journalism either.
distracted. Well, I know, but I mean, didn't you go to school for that?
No,
Didn't you
I
did.
initially
That
went
was
to
my
school
intention.
for- yeah,
That was my intention when I went to school. Well, I like I think so many kids. I mean, I was a dreamer. I was a dreamer. I was not a very practical kid. I was a dreamer.
I don't think either of us
Yeah.
are practical either.
I know.
Yeah, that was it. And of course, reading a lot enhances your dreamlike world a lot. And so I think I always wanted to do something creative. And so writing became what it was at that moment. And I had a lot of ambitions. And so when I realized I was a good athlete in colleges. I had some colleges kind of knock on the door.
Playing what sports?
What sport?
Football, basically. But I'm a big basketball fan, but I was not bad in football. And but I realized that I wasn't going to last. I just didn't have the drive to do it.
Yeah.
And
Well, football too. Football is such an aggressive. You take a beating on your body.
I
You didn't
kind of-
care. You didn't care. As your mother,
That was
I
no
care.
big deal. The rougher, the better it was. That was fine. But but I was not a particularly mature kid, so I had a flash of maturity for like 20 seconds, and I thought, I had read so much history. I loved the Marine Corps. I read a lot of. I even had the Marine Club. When I was a kid, I went to the post office and got all these recruiting.
Oh my God, my
pretended that
dad
was their
would love
material.
you. My dad was in the Marine Corps, as I told you earlier, and so he would be so happy that I'm interviewing
glad
a
you're
fellow
wearing his
Marine.
belt,
Yes,
as you told me.
his Marine belt. In honor of you,
That's
you
wonderful.
served our country. You went to Vietnam,
I did.
which is
It's
just
done
kind
there.
of amazing
Yeah.
that you went to Vietnam and you come back and you become an actor. Like, how does that happen?
Well,
It's a good question. It's a
Was
good
joining
question.
the Marines your?
That's when I became a writer.
Was that also your ticket out of your small town?
Well, yeah. I mean, ultimately, I don't think I ever. I certainly didn't verbalize it to myself, but there just wasn't that much opportunity for a kid who was a dreamer and wanted to do things that he really wasn't qualified for. I wasn't qualified pretty much to do anything at all. Wasn't a particularly great student. I did things well. I was always great on tests. I was great on tests, but. When I wanted to enlist in the Marine Corps, I was young. I was 17. But I was born with asthma, so I struggled through that. Sports helped me get through that. That's one reason why sports became so important. But I was very sick when I was young, a great deal. And but I was 17, and I somehow talked my mother into signing the papers. I found out years later she signed them because she knew they wouldn't take me. And so, because of the asthma.
Yeah.
And she was right, but she hadn't counted on me lying to the to the people. Yes. And I did, and I came back, and of course, not old enough to read her expression. I said, yes, I'm going to leave. But the recruiter lied, and I did tell him. I said, I really want to be a journalist, and I'd like to get that training in the Marine Corps. He said, yeah, absolutely. Don't worry about it, kid. Absolutely. I knew that wasn't going to happen. But it did. So they gave us a bunch of tests, and when we got to boot camp, and I and one other guy qualified for information services. And I became a journalist. And, didn't quite know how to spell journalism, but now I are one. So,
Oh my God. You're like, oh boy, now it's happening. I'm doing it.
It was great. I was 17, had not taken an airplane trip until I went to boot camp.
Wow.
Went to Hawaii for my first duty station. Great. When you're, by that time, 18,
Yeah.
and in Hawaii and a young man. In those days, it was a wonderful place to
I'm
be.
sure.
Yeah, I'm
it was so
sure.
good.
So how long were you in Hawaii?
For almost a year, and then Vietnam happened, and then I went there for about 8 months, and then I was brought back. I had to go to the hospital for a little bit. Brought back to the States, and then I was discharged. Actually, it was at that time. So I knew I had to get a job, and I wanted to go to school. GI Bill was not as good as it is now, but it was good for the moment, and it paid you to go to school, and I wanted to go anyway. And so I went to school with the intention, eventually going to law school. And
Becoming a judge like your friend.
Becoming a judge.
You could have been the longest running judge in Kansas.
I know. It's
You would have broken the record one way or another.
Now you're just the longest running male actor on days. So.
I know. There's another part to the story I'll tell you later. But so I went there with that intention. I had just gotten out over the summer. I had almost bankrupted the company that I worked for because I was doing these computers at night, and I fell asleep and the computers ran amok. And,
Oh, man.
yeah,
Oh, my God.
they gave me demerits. And when they gave me demerits, I thought, I don't think I want to work.
Everything's
So I went to college.
Yeah, there we go.
I went to
So
college.
how did acting come in? How did the theater come in?
I
for
met
you?
who is one of my best friends right now, who lives in New York, and we were talking in the student union, and I said, gosh, I've been away. And didn't know prison or where. I just said, I've been away, and I'm really looking forward to meeting some young ladies. And he said, well, I'm a theater major, and we're auditioning for a play tonight. Why don't you come over? That's a great place to do that.
You're not the first actor who has said that was your entree into the theater.
Yes. I'll bet money.
Yeah.
And so I did. I got cast. And the rest is actually kind of history. I was actually hired from that first play to do my first play for money. And then I produced the third play I ever did. So it was quick.
Wow.
It was falling in love. I often say it was kismet. It's seeing that person across the room and you go, maybe there's a future with her. There
When you know, you know.
is. Yeah.
No.
And then how do you get from there to Los Angeles? Or did you go to New York first?
I did go to New York for a little while, but I was working away from New York, and so I didn't see the reason. And LA's more, I'm a Midwest guy, I think. There are thousands of people from the Midwest that do extraordinarily well in New York
I know,
as well.
yes.
But for me, LA, getting in a car was not a problem.
Yeah.
We loved it. We drove
Yes,
everywhere.
yes,
You
yes.
couldn't go anywhere unless you drove a car.
I grew up in New York, and even for me, when I graduated college, LA always just sort of felt like this magical place to me. And I
Yes.
guess New York was familiar, but I also knew that I was going to be struggling, and I thought
I was just going to
Yes,
say, I'd
yes.
rather struggle here than
Yes,
struggle there.
I agree
because
completely.
I would work.
You
Yeah.
feel like you're not struggling when you're in Los Angeles.
Yeah, but even when you're working long hours at a restaurant or whatever your day job is, I would go out to Malibu and I'd go
was gonna say, you
kayaking
go to
and
the
like,
beach. Yeah.
it's a good way to
Exactly.
recharge the batteries.
It is, and you do feel that. It's kind of for a lot of us, it's kind of a non-threatening environment in a lot of ways. Well, it's warm, so that's always a good thing. But as you say, there are always these things you can do for free
Yes,
or
yes.
almost free to keep yourself busy while you're busy trying to make yourself more busy.
And it's sunny.
Yeah.
You get happy. You're happy because it's sunny all the time.
No, I agree. I
guess.
think it is, and it just felt right. I had done by this time I was in Colorado Springs actually as an actor for a theater there, but I was also writing an arts column and doing reviews for the Colorado Springs Sun at that time too. Most people don't use writing as a fallback, but I was lucky enough to always be able to get a writing job.
So film reviews, theater reviews?
Theater
things like that?
reviews, film reviews, whatever came into town. That, and I was paid by the article, so a lot of things fell under my purview.
The circus is coming to town. I'm going to review that.
I'm right there. It's art.
It wasn't a paid job, but I was a teen correspondent for the Staten Island Advance, which was our local paper, and I had to do reviews of. I remember I reviewed the Nirvana "Smells Like Teen Spirit" album.
I can just see him with his
So
pen.
there's a connectivity there.
Yes, and always fun. And I went to movies free for years because of that.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I got to when I was working for the Topeka Daily Capital. I walked in when they had a critic. They had somebody who reviewed shows, but it was just this was good and all that. And so I was able to walk in one day, which I'm just not that person, but I do find I can pull it off when necessary. And I said, you need a real arts reviewer here. And I say, I'm 20 years old.
The hubris of youth.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
So they said, well, let's play in town tonight. Go, let's see what you can do. You have to have it in by, I don't know what the deadline was, but, it wasn't a lot of time between curtain and deadline. So I had to go from there. The venue wasn't very far from the newspaper office to the newspaper office, type this thing up in like 10, 15 minutes. And they said, okay, well, that's pretty good. Yes, you can, you're our guy now.
Yeah.
So
how
It
long
afforded you the life that you could go and be in the theater and act,
exactly,
and work on your craft,
exactly,
right? Yeah.
exactly. And since I had taken my friend's recommendation, gotten a role, I now felt more than qualified to be an arts critic.
Did you find a girlfriend? I mean, you got to answer that.
I had a pretty
couple.
good college career. My time in school was well spent.
Good.
Just not in the classroom necessarily, but.
So what happened when you got the audition for Days?
Well, I had just finished doing a show on CBS called Time Express, with a nighttime show, a series with Vincent Price, and it was the only series he ever did.
Wow.
And his wife Coral Brown, and it was about a train that took people back in time to relive their experiences.
Oh, that's fun.
And this was it was great fun. It's the late 70s, and it was great fun. And I was the young guy I played the conductor, and I was the young guy on the cast. And so it was great fun for me because all the guest stars, who were mostly very popular television stars of the time, they would I would interact with them. And I was the only person. Vincent was the head of the line. He was basically God.
Right.
He was largely God. And I was the conductor, so I guess I was Gabriel, I suppose. I don't know. I didn't use any particular powers, but I watched over everybody as they went.
Who is the most, what star came in to do one of these roles that really impressed you, really?
Jerry Stiller. Jerry Stiller was
Jerry
just
Stiller?
a really lovely man. I remember watching he and his wife on Ed Sullivan and all that, and he was very nice and gave me his private number, which in those days actually was a private number because you had a phone that came into your house.
Yes.
And everybody really impressed me. There's nobody who was nasty or untoward. Everybody was very nice about it, but he was, and Vincent Price was. I loved him. He was just a wonderful, wonderful man. And, he was an art aficionado and a gourmand, and so many talents to this guy from St. Louis that I doubt if that many people knew. They probably thought he was a Brit, I imagine.
Yeah.
And just a lovely man. And so everybody knew we were shooting at Warner Brothers. And I would sit there, we'd be talking, and somebody would come over with this painting that their granddaughter did, or their wife, or their husband. And he was just so gracious. He'd sit there and he'd look at it, and he'd always think of something very positive to say.
Wow.
And I'm looking at him. You sure?
Not that one.
2 thumbs down.
But I thought, this is the way it should be. Those people are very happy because somebody they admired has proven to be a decent person to them, and he's been pleasant, which I think is always easier to do than not be.
That's a nice lesson early on, right, in your career to see that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that was what I was doing, and my agent said that, well, they're doing this show on. There was another soap that actually had made an offer, but I wasn't in love with it.
Well, back in those days, a lot of times your agent would be like, you really shouldn't do daytime.
Yeah.
I mean, it was real. Now, of course, you do
It's all
anything,
different
work
thing.
is work.
Yeah.
But back then, if you were doing prime time like you were, it was kind of like...
Well, and I was kind of in that mode too a little bit, but work is work. And when you're not working, you want to work. So, but the other show, there were some things that weren't right. And then my agent said, I don't know, I didn't want to see you. They brought in almost everybody in town to see what this, to get this role, but I don't know what's going on. And then at the very last, she was very good friends with Betty Corday. And she said, we can get you in. It's right at the end. They really have to cast somebody by the end of the week. So we'll get you in. You'll meet the casting director, and a very well-known casting director at the time, and then hopefully, we'll see what happens. But there was another actor who I think had the role. In fact, I kind of know they had it, and so they said, "We loved what you did. Can you meet with the producers?" And yeah, sure. I'm not doing anything. And I went and met with the producers and the writers, and Betty for the first time. And by the time I got home, I had the role, and the next day I had a stack of scripts, literally about that high. It was just.
Was that intimidating?
Well, they not at the time actually, because they had asked only one question: "Can you memorize lines quickly?" And I said, "Sure. I've been doing theater all these years. Yeah, absolutely." Of course, theater you got some time. You don't have.
But back then,
hours.
at least when I was even started, we were just doing one show a day. I mean, now it's just insane what we do.
Oh, that would be a breeze through the park.
When I get one show and I have to go to work, I'm like, wow, this is cake.
That would have been a breeze in the park. But, you got this stack. I think I was more excited than intimidated. I was actually kind of more excited. This is something I'd never done before. I'd never done soaps or any of that. I never really thought about it. And I was kind of, and the character was interesting. This police officer, and Abe and Roman were written as a pair who were old best friends. And so Abe showed up about 6 weeks before Roman, who at that time was played by Wayne Northrop.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember all this.
Oh, yes.
I remember all of this. I'm like, he's the cop on Days. They're like, no, he's the mayor. I'm like, wait, what? Time's passed. But he was the cop.
Yeah.
I was the mayor as well.
I know.
But
I just remember you and Roman. I
Yes.
do remember that.
Yes,
very well.
we had, and we had a great time. Wayne and I had all the Romans, the three Romans. I've had just a wonderful relationship, and consider them all three to be good friends. And but Wayne and I had we had a great time, and we were very serious when we were very serious, and we were very playful when we were very playful, and
as it should be.
Yes, as it should be, and we just had a wonderful time.
So then, in 1990. So you left
Well, wait,
Days,
actually, but before we get to Generations, did you, when you first came onto Days, was it a long-term contract role?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Absolutely.
And then, so 9 years later.
Yeah, 9 years. And that was one of the attractions, too, actually, I have to be truthful, is that it was it's a long-term deal. And, when you're doing a nighttime show, you're signing for whatever, but a couple of years later, you're going to say, let's do something else.
Right.
Let's do that contract again. But, this is a little harder and more in place, but it was having been out of work for a few weeks at that time.
We are not ashamed to say that, you go through periods of just getting a little job here, a little job there, that the steadiness of a job
is important.
Security.
Yes.
I mean, listen, they can fire you or let you go whenever you want, but there's something to be said for it.
There's something to be said for that.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for it. And I had a young child at that time, too.
Oh, yeah. You have a son.
My son was very young at that point. He was 2 at that point. So, it becomes more necessary.
Yeah, of course.
When you're on your own, you can. I could figure it out.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's not an issue. But when you're responsible for somebody else, then it becomes, I have to figure this out.
Yeah, we totally get it.
Yes.
What is it?
As you do.
Necessity is the mother of all invention. Is that did I get that right?
Yes.
I did. I got it right.
You got it right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Sure, whatever.
But yes, you figure it out when you have to.
Yeah.
So then, did Generations come to you, or did you say, okay?
Yes.
And was that a hard decision to leave Days?
It was not as hard as you might expect. I had actually screen tested for a role on Generations. It was an NBC show. So NBC had asked me to screen test for a role and I know that they had a major star lined up for that role. I pretty much knew that, but the test was good, and I had a lot of fun with it. And so when they decided to replace a character, also a very good actor, who's a very lovely person, they asked me to do it. And at that time, I just wasn't being used on Days for much other than the coffee serving scenes. And I thought, well, and I'd been there for a while. You know, I expected to be there a year, and by that time it had been 8 or 9 years. I don't know what that was. And this offer came through, and it's same lot. Same lot is actually the same studio that I shot Days on in the beginning.
Right.
So a lot wasn't going to be, and it was a half-hour show. So, you know,
And it
that's
was
a difference.
predominantly black family, right? Wasn't
Yes,
it? Yeah.
yes,
and so
yes.
that must have been exciting for
It was
you.
very exciting.
groundbreaking.
Yeah, it's
It is,
groundbreaking.
yes. Being a one who loves history, it was wonderful to make history in that way,
Yeah.
and to be part of this groundbreaking show. And so being offered the chance to do that was just something I really couldn't say
To
no
that end, how do you feel about Beyond the Gates? Like, have you?
I feel
Isn't
great
it-
about
isn't
it.
it
I
awesome
think
that-
well, I think it's done several things. For one thing, it's nice to have that exposure again for a black upper middle class family to show what the black middle class is like.
Yes.
You know, too often we don't see the black middle class, and those films that do, those films or TV shows that do, tend to kind of go back and forth from one experience to the other. And as you see from Beyond the Gates, as you see from so many things, your blackness is important to your existence, no matter what. If you're a billionaire, or, well, some billionaires, but if you're
Wherever you fall.
wherever you fall on that economic scale, that is the essence of your existence in this country. And I think Beyond the Gates shows that in a most entertaining way, a lovely way. I also feel it's brought renewed attention to daytime and
Yeah.
daytime drama.
We agree.
Yes, and they're
Yeah.
very good about keeping the show alive and publicized, and I think that's very important. Very pretty cast.
Do you think that?
Very pretty cast.
Yeah, yes, very
yes.
pretty.
And,
Yes.
and beautiful
Beautiful sets,
and-
Yes.
beautiful wardrobe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think that the soap set? Do you think they still have a ways to go in representing the black community, like
Oh, I
now,
think,
or do you
I
think?
think in many
I mean,
ways
it's come a long way.
It's come a long way, but in many ways, all of entertainment does in so many ways. We see a lot more people, as you hear from complaints sometimes, for people who aren't very happy about seeing people of color, and I use that term because I think we need to enhance the roles of all people in color,
That's
but
true.
in front
Yeah.
and behind the camera.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so when I see people complain about seeing more faces of color on commercials, for instance, I think, well, you didn't see them. I mean, it was, 1984 that McDonald's didn't want Michael Jordan to do their ads for them?
Is that right?
Yeah, 40 years ago, 41 years ago. And that's, so and now we look at what I'm sorry is blatant racism coming out all over this country.
Yes.
And we absolutely need the representation of everyone. But people of color have to continue to be able to put the hands in the dirt and be able to hang on. And so media representation is by far the best road to that, because that's what everybody sees. And I'm pleased that media companies seem to be holding on in many, many ways. And I hope that continues.
Yeah. That's very well put.
That was very diplomatic and very well put. Because
Well, look, the pendulum always swings back, but yes, it has swung in the wrong direction.
Yes.
in
And-
many ways,
Yes.
yeah.
And
Absolutely.
representation matters. And I can speak to it from my life experience, and knowing that when I was a kid, I didn't see anyone on TV that looked like me.
Yes.
And it wasn't until I was a young adult and Will and Grace was on television, and I thought to myself, wow, had this been on 10 years ago,
Yes.
I wonder how that might have changed my life experience. And I'm
Imagine people of color, like that.
Oh,
I mean, especially with you
absolutely,
coming up,
absolutely.
right? Like,
well, when I was growing
so
up,
you're from-
there was almost nothing. And, you look at film, and of course, Sidney Poitier was always there and always wonderful. But there were, other actors. I remember an actor, I think was in a film called None But the Brave, named James Edwards, who was, a wonderful actor. I think Lloyd Bridges was in that film. And I saw him periodically in other things. There were many others. Candidly was a stage actor, and many, many, many other, Ruby Dee, and but far and few between.
Yeah.
Unless it dealt with specific subject matter, there was very little real racial interaction. It was either this black man or woman was a hero or a villain.
Right.
And it was about their effect on white people. It was always that, no matter what. No matter and even into the 60s, this things got a little looser, but it's the same thing in all of these shows. And, I'll probably be criticized for this, but you look at I Spy, which was a groundbreaking show. But, Robert Culp had many more romantic entanglements than Bill Cosby. Bad example, I realize. But that was
well, it's funny. But no,
as I was saying it, I thought, let's not go farther with this.
Well, no, but I mean, but it's out there. But a few times I've thought about, in a similar way to Beyond the Gates, that the Cosby Show also was an example, and it's unfortunate that it's so tarnished now, but
yes.
was an example of black excellence and upper middle class.
Cosby Show was one of the best sitcoms that's ever been on the air.
It was so good.
It was wonderful, and it was so good, and it dealt with a family. It very much in the same mode that Beyond the Gates is.
Right.
Dealt with this upper middle class family and their life issues, and which, if you're a person of color or you're a black person, in many cases, many places, your life issues are always intertwined with issues of race, and the Cosby showed the universality of what struggle means, even if you have the means to avoid financial struggle, no matter who you are. But if you're a person of color, it is infinitely more difficult.
How do you feel like, again, having the role that you have played since 1981, even with your brief hiatus, do you feel a responsibility for how you have portrayed that role over all these years?
No, I feel it. I don't know if everybody agrees with it, but I feel it very deeply, and I felt that from the minute I came on the show. I was a police officer, so number one was to be competent. I even went to the FBI Academy for a little while because I felt I needed to be competent. Our stories don't always allow us that liberty, especially if you're a police officer. As I'm sure you've had conversations with actors who play police officers. It becomes a little bit of a contention. But you wanted to do that. You also want to bring in as much of your own experiences as possible. In those days, it was about presence more than it was about answers, which I think was unfortunate. Your presence said a lot because as I didn't have anybody. I mean, I had these few people that were on the movie screen or on the TV screen, but there was nobody. I grew up thinking, I love Westerns, for instance, and Westerns were extraordinarily devoid of black people. Yeah. Which is one of the reasons I blame Hollywood a lot for the bigotry that goes on in this country. 2 out of every 5 cowboys were black, but you would not know that if you saw a Hollywood Western between The Great Train Robbery, Thomas Edison's The Great Train Robbery, and maybe the last 10 years, maybe. Things have changed, obviously. You do see a lot more feature characters than you ever have before in history. But that's a long time. That's almost 100 years.
I didn't know that fact.
Yeah, absolutely.
But wait, we say more about the difference when you were saying the difference between presence and answers.
Well, I'm on screen. And so obviously if I'm on screen, I'm showing you something just by my presence, by being on screen. I would have loved the fact that I turned on a soap, and there were some people of color in Hal Freeman Jr., who I've talked about in the past, and others, and some people that are now friends of mine. So the presence said, okay, well, we have this person here. We're kind of, the word token kind of comes in sometimes, but we're presenting you in this way. The one thing I liked about the role of Abe is that he was extraordinarily involved in everything that went on in Salem. everything that happened in that city. One of the advantages of being a police officer. But he was also romantically involved when I came on the show. He wasn't just a guy. His presence wasn't the only thing that made a difference there.
I think you mentioned at some point there was a baby switch story, and you had a child that was not a child of color.
No.
And you didn't address it, and you kind of wish they had. Did you ever mention?
I wish they had, yeah. I do wish they had. I didn't. And I wish I had, and I wish they had. And
do you think now, if something like that happened, you would?
I would
Yes.
think so.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I would hope so. There's some ways in which I think today allows us to do things if we could and can, and we have. I have to give Days credit, certainly in the last several years, for doing some really wonderful things and enhancing the cast in ways that probably wouldn't have been thought of 30 years ago at all.
Yeah.
Certainly not in the depth in which characters are involved.
I also think our move to Peacock was pretty great because they seem to have more of a hands-off approach and let
Yes.
the creatives be the
Yes.
creatives. And, not that they are not involved. They're very actively involved and,
Yes.
and care about the show very much.
Yes.
But I certainly noticed a shift when we
Yeah.
moved, which was fun.
Yeah, no, I think
Maybe
so.
there's a little more
And
freedom
even
on
before
set.
that,
Not the same
show-
standards
Jamie?
and practices, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's always a little bit of an issue, but hopefully that chain has been let out more
Yeah.
as the years move by and society does change, despite the headwinds that we're encountering right now. But I give the show a lot of props for sincerity, and I think they have been sincere over the years. I think for maybe 100 reasons, things have not gone as far as perhaps I think they should. But I do believe the last 10, maybe 15 years has been a different expression of socially turning the clock forward.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I just looked at you and I grew up watching this man. So it was like, oh my God, I have one of those moments when you just looked at him and you were like, very serious expression. There's so much to talk about. You wrote 30%, you told me before we started, of a one-man show.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that? And you and your wife are very involved in a theater. You have a theater.
Well, we had a
company, right?
theater. We just sold it this summer.
Oh, you did?
We had it for almost 30 years. And in South Pasadena, Fremont Center Theater.
Yeah.
Actually, my wife, I'm listening to her right now in my ear, and she says, "We still have the theater.
Oh.
We are no longer owners, but we lease the theater,
Yes.
and we will have it for a number of years now.
Yeah.
So in essence, we still have the theater. We're not leasing, and we're not owners. We own. It was an office building, and the theater was the main space there. We had 25 tenants and a restaurant, and the theater is the main space there. And yes, we produced a lot of shows, and we took all of our shows. We demanded whoever came in to do those shows. People that are rentals, people that we would bring in because we liked what they did at other times. But they had to be diverse shows. So we were doing, and we ran into a lot of headwinds because of that. I remember I was doing a show that was set in fairly modern day Russia back in the last days of communism, and I cast a black actor as one of the Russians. Audience was very happy with it. Not everybody else was very happy with it. It worked beautifully.
Great.
And our point is, let's look at the world as it is, not as you think other people want to see it.
Right.
And I think we suffer from that in our entertainment lives as well. And so I had done this one-man show for years because I wanted to do a show by myself because I'm selfish that way. And
I wanted to host this by myself, but
sometimes you have to compromise. In this case, I wrote it, directed it, and then I had to find other people to help me. Who knew? And had a stage managers and lighting people. But I did that, and it turned out to be very popular. And I started touring it, and I started doing it at colleges and universities.
And what is it about?
It is about the African American experience in America, and basically concentrating on history, because I've found that very few people understand the importance of African American history to American history. It is American history. And so I don't deal in contemporary times as much as the older times. A lot of these people, these characters I take on, and there are a number of characters that I take on in this play. But these are people you probably haven't heard of. Some you have, but others you haven't heard of. And I wanted that specifically because I wanted people to know what that struggle was like for them. I think as time goes on and younger people, slavery becomes kind of, well, you hear it demeaned all the time these days, but you also hear it demeaned sometimes in the African American community as well. Those people deserve our honor every day. The struggle, my great-great-grandfather was a slave, and the struggle they went through every day, every single day, is something most of us who live in this modern world couldn't contend with. You know, half of us, and a lot of them killed themselves too, but half of us would probably do that more than in those days because there was a certain strength of these people and tough. And one thing they made it across what they used to call Middle Passage, which was the voyage from Western Africa to America. And so that took strength to survive that, not being starved to death, not falling victim to diseases, not falling victim to certain cruelties that the ship or their masters on the ship would inflict upon them because they could, just because they could. And so I feel strongly that has to be kept alive in the strongest way. We have to know that we come from strongest people on earth, perhaps. I know there are others in other cultures, and I certainly don't dismiss their struggles at all. However, our foundation is from extraordinarily strong people.
Strong emotionally and physically.
Emotionally and physically. And, the issue of the cowboys, which I'm also very passionate about. I love the West and and I do a piece about that because I don't want people to forget that this romanticized era, and I think justifiably romanticized in so many ways because it's our knights in armor. Europe has their Middle Ages and the knights and the Round Table and Sir Lancelot and all the European countries and France and Germany. The cowboys are ours. And many of those cowboys were black. Many of those cowboys were black. As I said, probably 40%. And it made sense. All these slaves have been freed who had an agrarian background. They knew about tilling the soil. They knew about taking care of cattle. They knew about that they'd have to travel by horseback or muleback or cowback at times. They knew that. So when freedom came, they headed west with everybody else, in many cases, a lot of my relatives. And so to go to work on a ranch or to go work on a farm was natural, and it made sense. And some tried to be ranchers and farmers. Unfortunately, the system, once again, became set against them, certainly once Jim Crow came into the law. But, it's such I think, a glorious romantic time, and we need to know that there were so many black cowboys. In the Southwest, so many Mexican cowboys. Indians who were still struggling against the United States government, also turned to ranching and farming because they certainly knew horses very, very well. And that was a place for people to go and become part of that key American history.
What is the name of the play?
I Too Am America. It's a Langston Hughes poem.
What do you think is the best way then to fight against this whitewashing of history that's happening a lot right now with book banning? And what would you say to somebody who was advocating for banning of books and things like that? I mean,
why?
Yeah.
Why? If you're worried about your children and you want them to be better than you are, and you want them to be able to contribute to the world and help improve it on whatever scale it is, maybe taking care of your family, going to work, You don't have to become a politician or a leader of industry or somebody has some kind of influence for take care of your family, but you want your children to be better than you are, then you want them to be critical thinkers.
Yes.
And the only possible way for a human being to be a critical thinker is to engage themselves in other patterns of thought in other cultures. I can't think of another way. I mean, because when you do that, you begin to enjoy the varieties of music, the varieties of digging a ditch, actually, you know, the ways of engineering something, your garage, if you're building. Critical thinking is key to a society that improves and wants its members to always be better and wants their children to always be better. So to ban a book, now, 10-year-old doesn't, there are books that 10-year-old doesn't need to read. I agree. That may be graphic in some kind of sexual or extraordinarily violent way. You know, we don't watch certain movies or certain TV shows. Most of us do that self-censorship in our house. Mm-hmm. Most of us do. I think it should be literally the same thing with books. Do it at home. And you know, if they're in high school, I was 17 when I got in the Marine Corps. There was a lot I learned in those next few years.
Well, my daughter is 11
My
in
son is
5th grade,
9.
and they're reading Born a Crime by Trevor Noah, the kids' version, Stamped, the kids' version, at her school. I'm so grateful for her school.
Yes.
That it is so important.
Yes.
It's so important.
It's very important.
And she comes home and talks about, like, there's a book called Front Desk. I don't know. I mean, we're getting it. This is a whole sidebar.
But to your point, I think sure, like in a perfect world, I could scaffold around my child and decide the moments that he's going to have different life experiences and teachable moments.
Right.
But the real world is that he's going to be out of my, oftentimes, and I would so much rather him be at school.
Yes.
And have the scaffolding of that community around him to learn some of these hard things rather than having to find it on his own somewhere and then try and draw his own conclusions.
Give him the armor of critical thinking.
Yes.
And critical thinking is armor against the harm that comes at you as you grow older. He may have different feelings than you about certain things, but those feelings will be made because you allowed him to explore those different things. You may not be happy about it, but you have allowed him the freedom to explore those. And one of the things that I don't need somebody to tell me what I should read. Right. I don't need somebody going through the library shelves and pulling books off the shelf.
Shame is a powerful thing.
That.
And I think so much of this is motivated by the shame of having to face the past.
Yes. A lot of it, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And and so many people, and that's a reason why I'm such an advocate of learning about history, because we are built on that, and we are built on that societally. We are built on that individually.
We're supposed to become better because of it.
We're supposed to.
We
and
touched
I
on
felt
this.
like it was moving that way.
We touched on this before the
Certainly much later
cameras.
than it should
I'm
have.
sorry.
No.
I am. I'm really
That's why
sorry.
I didn't want a partner.
No, we touched on this before the cameras were rolling, and I said we have such a rarity in what we do where, and I said especially, I feel like I'm right at the middle mark, but I work with people who are 40 years older than me and people who are 40 years younger than me from all different walks of life and different ethnicities and different pronouns and all of these things. And to your point, like, I'm so grateful for the ways in which that has made me critical of what I believe and how I think, and I wish that upon everybody. And thank you for doing the good work and
well,
making
we all try to do the good work. And I think that's really the effort. I've spoken in this current time. I've spoken to so many people who want good things. They want the right thing to happen. They're not happy about what's going on at the moment, but they keep saying, "Well, I'm going to embrace my family. I'm going to stay close." You got to do more, because we're given this moment for whatever reason. I'm very sorry that we're given it, but we're given this moment to show the strength of our culture, our cultures, our multiple cultures to come together to make this society that we have been privileged to live in throughout most of our lifetimes. And if you want to not only sustain the society, but ensure the strength of it as it goes forward for your children, then on some level, we have to be involved. It doesn't mean you necessarily have to go to the streets, so that's not a bad idea. It doesn't mean that you have to sign up for something that you can. You can find something you can support if you're in the middle of the road, which I encourage you not to be. You can find something on one side or the other that would augment your feeling or the depths of your feeling that would help us move through something that is sustainable and has freedom at the top of the list. But it's time to make it stand.
Being on the show for as long as you have and speaking about all this, do you ever, at this point, try and influence what they do and how they portray you?
No, I never try to influence, except for something like this.
Yeah.
I don't do it directly. I don't do it through fan mail or anything.
No, I mean like
that.
the producers you do, like for
sure.
for
Absolutely.
Abe, like for your character.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
you do.
Abe became the commissioner because I said Abe should be the commissioner. Absolutely. As you all know,
Well, I mean, when you get to the level that you've gotten, I feel like you've earned the right to say, I really want. You can have an impact, right? Because
the show has been nothing if not supportive of me during the years. And sometimes it's been a struggle, not for me, and not for them, because they have sort of taken that request somewhere else, and somebody else is making it difficult for them. But I will tell you, Ken and I have been friends for years and years and years, and he has been extraordinarily supportive throughout the years. Very, very supportive.
Wonderful.
And I could not have somebody that's better to work for, and I think a lot of it has to do with just friendships. We're generationally aligned, and in many other ways, and I feel the progress of this show in the last several years toward more inclusion and more stories that challenge have been because of his support.
Yeah.
For us,
absolutely,
who appear in front of the camera.
Okay, so we went nice and deep, which I loved. But I would be remiss if we didn't at least touch on the fact that you get to share a good chunk of your screen time with the legendary Jack A.
Yes.
And talk about that.
Yes. It has been one of the best experiences of my life.
I
love it. She is wonderful. As an actor, she is so giving. We have a real rapport. I would have loved to have been in on the conversations when the idea of offering Jack A this role and what they thought, what our pairing was going to be. It kind of led me to believe it wasn't happening, and then I realized, they just said that. I see what's going on here, and I'm sure there were some folks who thought this is probably not a good idea. It turns out to be just the opposite.
It is.
We have chemistry, I feel.
Yeah.
It's always hard for actors. You feel you do, but then...
I know.
No,
I feel we have
it's
great
oozing
chemistry. I love her. I love working with her. I love talking to her. And it's just been wonderful. And I'm looking forward to the future.
Yeah. I love watching you guys together. I love watching you guys separately. You're both tremendous. This is...
It is. It's just been one of the great gifts of my life, actually, to be honest. And we can all say that we've, as much as we may criticize the business sometimes, but we must all say that it also has given us some of the high points of our existence.
I don't know where my life would be if it wasn't for my career. I'd be fine.
It's so intertwined, right? Because when you do it, when you're doing it year round, and you're like kind of growing. You're growing with your character. You're growing in life.
Yes.
And it just kind of becomes your life. Like these shows. I don't know. We have a great community.
We do.
A small community.
Yes. Now I'm more complete because we know each other.
I
Yeah.
know.
There you go.
Listen, my life is really complete.
Yeah, well, I'm
You
there.
have no idea.
I'm with you.
After I met Frankie. No, it's Billy Warlock anyway. But thank you so much for
Yeah, will you come back
talking
again?
to
Because
us.
I can
I'd
talk to you
love
for
it. I love it.
hours.
Please.
All right.
I'm
I
begging
know,
you.
you are so
I'd get on
smart.
bended knee, but I'd have difficulty getting
Don't
up.
do it.
So would I. That's kind of scary. So anyway,
This has been
thank you.
an absolute
Thank
joy.
And if you
Thank
want to watch James Reynolds, which you should, on Days of Our Lives as Abe Carter, you can
On
catch
Peacock.
it on
On
Peacock.
On Peacock.
Stream
you-
that.
Stream
What?
it, absolutely.
And you can watch this episode of Soapy, as well as every episode of Soapy, on the CBS YouTube channel, the Odyssey app. You can listen to us on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you, and we will see you next time.